Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing on this dark and stormy Thursday evening in my part of the world? My goodness. Sorry, my voice is probably coming in a little hot there. My goodness, it just suddenly started storming here in my neck of the woods. Just saw some crazy lightning. Wild, out of nowhere. I had no idea it was coming. But hey, what do I know? I haven't even been outside all day. I sit in front of my computer all day like some kind of YouTube monkey. That's all I do, sit on YouTube. But I can't complain because y'all people come and hang out and listen to me talk about my beloved Pittsburgh Steelers every single week. And as you know, I could not be more appreciative of that fact. Whoa, just saw some more crazy lightning. It's getting serious out there. So as you guys know, we have unfortunately reached the end of our road here, Steelers fans, in the year of 2022, the football season 2022, I should say. And it's going to be a little while till we have some new content to talk about. I'm sad, you're sad, but we'll be back, and it's going to be season 5 next year. And as you might imagine, 5-star season 5, probably going to be rolling out the red carpet and doing some crazy stuff for you guys. So I'm super looking forward to that, but before then, we got to talk about our most recent matchup against the Cleveland Brownies, where our Steelers took care of business, had their best win of the season, I might say. And here, as per usual on my midweek show, to talk about it with me is my good friend, Mr. Steel Flyers. How you doing, bud?
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you the greatest of all time,
Oh my gosh.
Mr. 5-star matchup. He is the greatest of all time when it comes to Pittsburgh Steelers post-game wrap-up commentary. You name it, he is the man. He's the pots and pans. I'm here to tell you, if you're not following, if you're not subscribing, look, all you got to do is drop a 4 or a 7 in the little subscribe thing, buddy. And you're on your way to getting the 5-star matchup that we all deserve and love. By the way, huge congrats on 12,000.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes, we just recently crossed 12,000 subscribers. It's a nice little milestone. I love it. It's super gratifying, and also you said the $4 or $7. I gotta say, we have been getting way more people in the last, just since around Christmas time. We've been getting way more people signing up for Patreon, which, I've had to be very honest and blunt with you guys and explain the sort of economics of this situation with this show and the way all that works. So, I don't like to dwell on that. I don't like to spend too much time there. But point is, I've realized a lot more people are relative welcoming to doing something like that. And so if you can swing it, I would really appreciate it. We just recently crossed like $225 a month of support on Patreon, which,
Boom.
that's not chump change. Like that's paying for some of the accounts that I need for this show and all that kind of stuff. So if you can do that, I know it's going to be the off season. I know this, but trust me, honestly, $4 a month, you're not going to think about it. You'd support your favorite show, helps it make it worth it for me and Steel Flyers and Gage and everybody else that works on this show. So do what you can. I appreciate it.
For sure, man, because listen, we get to see the shows that you get to produce and put out, right? If we keep, giving you, hey, let's keep giving this guy money, he'll keep making this stuff for us, right?
Listen, it's just,
we get to keep enjoying it. Come on, I'm paying for that all day long.
It is a lot of work. I've had some people reach out to me in the community that say like, oh, hey man, like I know, I work in production. Like I know what kind of effort must go into this show every week. Like, how do you even do it? This and that. And I'm just always like, I do it because I want to do it because I'm really proud of what I've created. But, to be honest with you, when I get to week 18 now, like, you've seen me now for a couple of years. Like, I get to this point and I'm like, okay, like, I need a minute. Like,
a little more than a minute.
Yeah,
but yeah, I get you.
Yeah, because it's it is a lot, and it's every week. There's an incessant need to put out the stuff, and and I'm tied obviously to that schedule of the team and all that. So, I get to the end of this road, and I'm a regular person. I have a job, I have a house, I have
responsibilities, and you got bills to pay, and all their happiness, and I get it. And that's kind of like the way it is with me as well too. You know what I mean? We do this because we love to do this. We do this because you guys out there, okay, which by the way, thanks for everybody in the chat, and really appreciate everybody being here. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe and let us know and let your voice be heard. That's why we do this. That's why I do this, because we put out quality product, okay? And it's great when you get recognized by putting out quality product, and the recognition that you get is the subscribers, the people on Patreon, the number of people that show up in the chat, the number of people that do the donos that we get when we're on lives and stuff, and everything like that. It all goes together, man, because look, I'm going to tell you something. Subscriptions to software cost bucks, big bucks. Okay, so that ain't no joke, right? And you have to have some pretty sophisticated software to do the kind of stuff that what 5-star and what we do here. You know what I'm saying? So, man, dude, congratulations, kudos on another awesome, great, seriously cool season, man. I can't wait till 5.
I appreciate that, and I have to tell you that, I think, this season had such a strong finish that in some way this became my favorite season of the show that I've done so far. And if you had told me that like 8 weeks ago, I would have said you were nuts, because it was such a slog. And that little 4-game stretch where we played like the Bills and the Eagles, and we were just getting smashed every week.
I know.
It's tough. I mean, it's tough to sit down and like I said, it is a lot of work, and it's tough to convince yourself like, oh, I'm going to sit down and do the same amount of work for way less payoff because way less people are going to click, all that kind of stuff. It's, you have to make the choice. And this year I did make the choice. I really wanted to do a full episode for every single week of the season. And then what happened down the back half of the season, the Steelers went 7-2. Interest in them obviously swung way back up. People started to feel way better about Kenny Pickett. And this little stretch here, this last 3-game stretch, I think is the best work I've ever done. I'm so proud of it. These last 3 episodes dating back to the Raiders game, and then the Ravens, and then the Browns. I'm just really happy with the way they came out and what they represented. And honestly, I am just so proud of this team and these kids and the way that they stuck together and grew this year. And it's cool to see.
I have to agree with you on that. For one, it was really great to see this team actually put a winning December together for the first time in 5 seasons. Okay. I mean, I get it. You finish with winning records the last couple of years for the most part, but you've pretty much dumped in December. I mean,
last year they must have been pretty good in December because their record wasn't very good going in, and they made the playoffs. I think they must have.
But they had already because they had a pretty decent start.
Last year they were like 4-5 or something. I think last year they probably definitely had. They won.
Last year was more of a.
Last year they won 1, 2. Yeah, they won like 3 out of their last 5 last year.
3 out of their last 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 out of their last 4, you'd say, yeah.
Okay. So, but the previous 4 seasons have not been well.
No, yeah. Dating back to 2017 was very rough finish with the Shazier injury and all that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And so it was nice to actually see the Steelers finish strong. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And so we got a special gift this year because we got more than like 7 or 8 minutes of 5-star. We got some shows were 20 minutes, some were longer than 20 minutes, right? So not only did we get a longer show, But we got more, right? I mean, longer, more content, more show, more everything,
I had
more
a lot.
clips, more.
I had a lot to say.
You could say that. I mean, my gosh, dude.
Well, it's like, so everybody knows I like to wax poetic about these bigger things. I'm not just talking about down to down. I'm not talking about series to series. Like, I like to talk about this team on the bigger sort of scale.
Yes.
And this year, one of the reasons that I felt it necessary to do week by week was that I saw this. I saw this happen in real time over 20 years with Roethlisberger. And, I've seen it now happen on a smaller scale over the course of a year with Kenny Pickett.
Oh, my gosh.
Where, he was getting, he was not put in the best situation. And, he finished above 500. You're not going to see anything in the national media really talk about that. Because at the end of the day, they were a 9-8 team that was 26th in the league in points scored, all this kind of stuff.
Well, he was 6-4, right?
Something like that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, 6-4. He started 11 games. He was 6-4, right? He missed some games because of a concussion. He came in. He played 2 half games or
yeah, because he played the second half of the Jets, and then he missed the second half of Baltimore.
Well, he missed the second half.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So he's missed some time. You know
Actually,
what I mean?
3 halves, because he missed also second half against Tampa. Remember, Mitch came in.
Right. Okay, there you go. So I knew there was another one in there. I couldn't remember which one it was, but all things considered, I have to agree with what you even said in the show, man. It was a great growing year. It was great to see the kids come together. Look, you need, as a unit, as a team, when you're that young, you need to learn how to lose together, and then you learn how to win together.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they've learned how to lose now. So let's see how we can learn how to win. Right now, what do we have to do to get these guys to learn how to win? What does the organization / ownership / management have to do in order to get this team pointed in that right direction?
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously the question. I think, what I said going back a long ways was, I remember when we were 2-6 and everybody's saying like, oh, well, it feels like they have such a long way to go till they'll be good again and all this kind of stuff.
They do, I still think, but
yeah, I don't know. And then when we were saying that, we're looking at a team that didn't have TJ Watt, a team that had a not very healthy Najee Harris. We didn't know what we had in Jaylen Warren. We didn't know what we had in George Pickens. We didn't know what we had in Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
And we got positive answers to almost every single one of those questions. TJ Watt came back and was TJ Watt. Najee Harris got way better in the second half. He was the best running back in the league in the last 6 weeks. There's no doubt about that. Kenny Pickett, by quarterback rating and PFF rating, second best quarterback in the league in since December after only Josh Allen, I believe. So he's playing well. Yeah. He's playing well. He's not he threw 1 interception since Halloween. All right.
Right, which we pointed that out last show, you know what I mean? So
and so I think, and then George Pickens, to me, I'm as sold as him being like a star, a future star, as I am anybody on this team right now. That dude is a dude.
Okay. So then let me throw something at you then. Because I know we were talking about this in the last show, right? And I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and here's kind of where I'm coming from, because I know that what we're talking about, because, look, the next thing for the Steelers is going to obviously be the draft.
Sure.
Okay, because, and quite honestly, I think that the future does look bright, very bright for the Steelers as far as who are on the current roster right now to a certain extent. And that's where I want to go with what I'm going to say right now. I think that George Pickens can be that number 1 receiver for the Steelers.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I really think that in spite of what everybody or you or whoever else may say, I think the next best receiver on the team is Freiermuth. So what if he's a tight end? I don't care. Okay, use him more as the tight end that can get you in the red zone, right? You already got a blocking tight end in Gentry. We all know he's a much better blocker. He's also not bad at running down the field, lumbering down the field either with the football in his hands after a catch either.
Yeah, I love when Gentry catches one, because he looks like Yao Ming out there. He's so freaking big, it's unbelievable.
He does, man. He looks so gangly. Like
I don't know how him and Jesse before him. I've always been so confused
like
how they
5 or 6, 7.
How they just can never find a good they can never use them in the red zone. I always thought Jesse should have been catching touchdowns. I mean, that dude had an amazing wingspan, and they just never got him in the end zone.
That's how they use him at
except
Penn
the one
State.
time. Except the one time. But.
Well, except that one time.
Yeah.
But see, and that's the other thing that needs to be the other thing that needs to happen. I think that we can use the wide receivers that are currently in the room, maybe pick up a free agent or maybe pick up an undrafted player as a wide receiver and not spend a higher draft pick on a wide receiver. Just hear me out. The reason why I'm saying this is because I think there's other areas of need that may outweigh those first 3 picks that we originally discussed. I still believe that cornerback has to be one of the top ones. I still believe that an offensive lineman has to be one of the ones. Okay? In any order, don't really care. Okay? But I think that what they might need to do and what they might need to consider is potentially defensive linemen or linebacker or something in between those two. You know how always the Steelers always pick that guy that was a defensive end in college. They make him a linebacker.
Sure.
Or he was a linebacker in college. They make him a D end or whatever, right? I really think that it would behoove the Steelers to pick those 3 guys in those top 3 positions instead of a wide receiver in that position, owing to what is already currently on the roster, what's already currently signed to the roster, the emergence of some of the other players that's been on the team as well. I'm not even talking about any of the other guys that didn't even play this year. I'm just talking about guys that suited up.
Yeah, so I hear you.
I wanted to throw that at you.
Yeah, I hear you, and I would say that I would agree probably that my take that one of those top 3 picks in the first 2 rounds should be a wide receiver. I would agree that is probably the less, that's the one I would expect the most debate over, but here's my opinion. If you look at the NFL draft, and because I hear people say D lineman all the time, right? Where was Brett Kiesel drafted? Like the 6th round. Where was Javon Hargrave drafted? The 3rd round.
Where was Aaron Darnold drafted?
Yeah, sure. Aaron Donald, Cam Heyward, sure. There's a ton of great 1st round picks that are, high pedigree D linemen. There's high pedigree everything. My point is
J.J. Watt, he was a 1st round pick too.
Sure, but J.J. Watt's you just named 2 players that are arguably the 2 best players, in the last 10 years of defensive football. So those are guys that the Steelers are just not going to have the opportunity to pick. It's like remember when Mike had that moment where he was mic'd up against the Redskins and he said to Chase Young, like, "Oh, I'm never," he said,
"I'm never gonna get to pick a guy like you."
Yeah. And I mean that's just the reality. Like, I mean, we were lucky to get TJ where he was, but TJ wasn't looked at as that same kind of guy. You're Aaron Donald. You're talking about a guy where everybody knew, okay, this guy is gonna be, this guy's going to be a generational
Okay,
player.
but
My point is that
think they need that home run hitter.
I think you do need that, but I'm saying that those players can be had in the 3rd and 4th round. You look at wide receivers, right? For as much as everybody constantly says wide receivers are a dime a dozen in this league, if you look at wide receivers drafted over the last few years, okay, Deebo Samuel, 2nd round pick. He's one of the best offensive skill players in the league. Juju Juju is just like a good number 2 wide receiver, right? He was a 2nd round pick. Like that, you have to go high if you want that pedigree, that size, that talent, or else you're just going to keep having things where it's like, okay, you draft somebody in the 3rd or 4th round, like Deontay Johnson, and you continue to train them up, and we're going to work them up, and they're going to be really good. They're going to be the best receiver in the league. And then it's like 5 years later, and you're like, can you hang on to the ball? Because you're still waiting for it to happen. And I think that's what happened with Deontay. He had the real benefit. I'm not trying to trash talk him because I know I've said a lot of bad things about Deontay over the time he's been here, but I think he's a good player. I think he benefited from playing with Ben Roethlisberger when Ben Roethlisberger was 40 years old because he fit perfect. He could get open immediately. Ben knew, I'm going to this guy because he's going to be open, and that's why he caught 100 balls and 8 touchdowns last year. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but at the end of the day, if you say he's your number 1 wide receiver, that's a bottom half number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. It's just a fact. George Pickens has the ability to be a top 10 wide receiver in this league. Deontay Johnson just doesn't. And I know a lot of people get defensive about that. I'm not even hating on him. I just don't think it's who he is. I don't think it's who his DNA is. He's too small. And, sure, people will say, well, AB was small. AB was AB. Jerry Rice was Jerry Rice. Like, there's just, it's too many things stacked against you.
Hey, at least we got the customary siren there for a second. I heard there, right? Yeah. No, see, and that's the other thing, too. You can't necessarily compare that because AB was a generational player.
I mean, you're talking about one of the best players in the history of the sport, and there's always going to be exceptions of, you can't say that 6th round quarterbacks are, a good draft, are going to be likely to be really good just because Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round.
Here's why I'm with you. Here's why I'm saying what I'm saying, because this is what I'm sick and tired of what the Steelers have done over the last Tomlin era is draft these cornerbacks / safeties that are less than 6 feet tall, that are less than 200 pounds, are not good at one-on-one, don't know how to spread, don't know how to, know when to turn their hips.
Well, yeah.
So
they've
why do you keep drafting these guys
that
are 5'10"?
They have trouble drafting cornerbacks. I will admit that, but and I've gotten the same thing from other people when I talk about the positions I want to take in the draft, and they always say, "Well, with the way that they draft cornerbacks, why do you want to use a premium pick on it? They're just going to draft Artie Burns again." Okay, but if you carry that approach over to other positions, everybody has such reverence for the way the Steelers draft pass rushers. Okay, in the last 10 years, or linebackers, I should say, just linebackers overall. In the last 10 years, they drafted TJ Watt in the 1st round, and they got lucky he was available where they got him. The stupid Cowboys took Taco Charlton over him. Are you kidding me?
I mean, really?
But the Cowboys just could be so good if they weren't just run the way they are. They really could. Because they hit on talent, but they miss on so much that it's don't get me started. But
like I said, no comment.
So they got lucky. They got lucky to draft TJ Watt where they did. They made the right evaluation. They took him, super smart. But if you want to say linebacker, they're so good at drafting linebackers. In the last 10 years, we also spent a 1st round pick on Jarvis Jones and Devin Bush, who are both terrible football players that probably won't even get a second contract in the NFL.
And then we had one, and we couldn't even give him a second contract.
Yeah, well, that's just a very unfortunate situation with Shazier, of course. But
no, but I mean, I'm talking about Dupree.
Oh, Bud. Yeah. Well, Bud, I think actually is a great candidate that he might come back. I have a funny feeling. I think he could be a Will Gay. I do. I think that Tennessee is going to cut him. He's been he's been injured a lot and hasn't played up to his deal really.
Oh, really?
I have a funny feeling. I could just see him come back as like the third pass rusher, and because they need that. That's another thing I have on the list. I've mentioned it to you a couple times, but every season now for the last 5 years, they make some stupid trade in August for some useless player to be the third outside linebacker. And last year they were blindsided because they were super smart and signed what's his name, and then he threw a fit. Melvin Ingram.
Ingram, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a great signing. He was a great player. And then he just was like, oh, I don't want to be here. And you're like, okay. So, I mean, but in general, that's something that's been like, Anthony Chickalo, Derek Tuska, Jameer Jones. I mean, you're talking about guys that, you need to assume, you need to assume that TJ Watt's going to miss some time. He missed how many games this year?
Half the season, I'd say, almost.
Last year, I think he missed 2 games, and I think he left 3 or 4 and missed at least a half.
Something like that, yeah.
So it's just a reality. You need to think about that, and that's gonna weigh in on, are we gonna give Alex Highsmith a deal? Because he's gonna be going into the last year of his contract, and he just had that Bud Dupree type season where it's like, oh, wait a second, 14 sacks? How much money is this guy going to command? And are you going to give it to him? I don't know.
So he's going to play under his 5th year option. So
No, it'd be his 4th year. But he doesn't have an option. He wasn't a first round pick.
Oh, so this is his 4th year.
Only first rounders get that 5th year option.
So this is his 4th year coming up.
Mm-hmm.
This coming season, right?
Yeah.
So if he balls out again, pay him.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the Steelers tend to have wanted to lock those guys up before that last year of the deal. That's what they've done in the past with Minka, DJ, etc.
A fan of that, because as soon as you pay the guy, now he's already made his money. Now he has no, you know what I mean? I've seen too many.
Yeah, but I think there's something to be said about sort of investing in the right guys.
I get it.
Like, I don't think Alex Highsmith, especially to me, that's one of those guys. I mean, Minka, did it negatively affect Minka that they gave him the deal before the season started? Like, there's certain people, okay, this is a locker room guy. I need this guy.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, okay, it would be a huge mistake if Pittsburgh does not re-sign Alex Highsmith.
Yeah, he impressed me this year.
Okay, watching him play without TJ, and then watching him play with TJ. Okay, that kid, like I even said from the very beginning when we did our draft recap show, and he was part of that draft class, right? And I told you, I said, man, that guy's got a motor.
Yeah.
Right. And we got to see it on full display this year.
No, he does. He does. And I'll admit that he's proven me wrong, because I at times said that I didn't think he was that much of a difference maker, like just a solid player. And I do think that a little bit in that period of time, I think when he was adjusting to playing without TJ, he wasn't.
Agreed.
He definitely wasn't as impactful. But we could say the same thing about Cam. Everybody was so much better. And all that does is just show you how good TJ Watt is. Because, I mean, Cam Heyward at now 33 years old played one of the best months of football he's ever played in December and January.
And wants to come back and play more.
Well, he will.
He wants to be. No, he already said he wants to come back and play. That's the other thing here. And this is what people don't understand, why when you talk about as a difference maker. A difference maker is somebody that the opposition has to game plan against. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that means when you say, oh, who's on your defense? Oh, well, let's see, Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, TJ Watt. Oh, crap. All right, so we're going to run to the opposite side of wherever he's lined up.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
you could see
No,
it.
but I mean,
yeah, you could see it these last 3 weeks, especially like Oakland
we're
was
not running over there.
they were throwing everything at TJ Watt. I mean, you have a tight end chip him on the way out. I've seen teams have him chipped with a wide receiver on the way out in bunch formations and then have him doubled with a tight end and a tackle.
So you're getting ahead. See, now you're reading into you're taking the words out of my mouth again, man, because this is what I'm trying to get to. He's one of those difference makers where he makes everybody else on the team better because they put an extra guy on TJ. They pay an extra attention to TJ, so that means there's a focus on this particular player, which means, oh, you got Minka Fitzpatrick over here.
Yep.
Oh, you got Edmonds over here. Oh, you got Alex Highsmith over here. Oh, you got Cam Heyward over here. I mean, you see what I'm saying?
This is why I think of TJ Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick. I have, okay, I love a good sandwich, right? Everybody knows I'm an Italian. All right, let me do a little sandwich moment, okay? I'm going to do a little sandwich moment here. My favorite sandwich in the world: chicken cutlet, fresh mozzarella, roasted red peppers. But what's the special thing that makes it work? You got the nice bread. You got to put a little oil and vinegar on that bread.
Oh, I was going to say pesto, but
okay.
All right.
Oil and vinegar, okay? And that's TJ Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick. They are both great players on their own, but they are so perfect for one another as far as being on the same team. It's unbelievable. They're both so smart. They're both so physically gifted. And TJ Watt enables Minka to do what he does, and Minka enables TJ to do what he does. I thought going into this season, I said this, that I thought that Minka was the player you could least afford to lose on this team. And I think what we found out was that I was wrong. I think TJ Watt is the one you can least afford to lose.
Right? Whoops.
But God forbid, and I'll knock on wood, I don't ever want to get this sample size. It would be interesting to see what would happen if the inverse happened for a period of time, because I really do just believe so strongly that Minka locks down that back half flawlessly, and you see it. I mean, his peers voted him. He's an All-Pro for the third time in his fifth season. He is a guy that we still think of as a youngin'. He is on an absolute Hall of Fame trajectory. The guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you as well too, because I haven't seen a player like this since Troy.
No, he's the best secondary player we have had without a question since Troy. Yeah. And
who was the one before Troy? Carnell Lake and Rod Woodson.
Yeah.
Because those two guys were like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I am not kidding you, man. That was the best part of the first part of Bill Cowher teams, man, with like Greg Lloyd and LaVon Kirkland and Rod Woodson and Carnell Lake. And it was like, man, I ain't throwing the ball over there. Nah, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Because it was either going to get picked off or the wide receiver was going to get his head taken off.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, I think that they have built something here that's so perfect. And I just have the utmost respect for Minka, man. And he locked down a number of these games in the last month of the season with game-sealing interceptions. And it's just impressive to see, the Steelers defense, again, they led the league in interceptions this year, which is very impressive. Says a lot about Terrell Austin, I believe.
19, I think.
Something like that. That seems like a low number to lead the league, I guess.
Well, they were before this week. Didn't they have 2 interceptions? In the last game against the Brownies?
No, I think they had 3. Watson was terrible.
Okay, so that puts him at 20 then.
Yeah.
Because they had 17 going into that game.
Boy, I'll tell you that. Oh, no, Watson had 2. I thought it was 3, but it was 2.
Okay, so but still 19.
Yeah. No, yeah, he had that one right before the half that I said in the show. I thought it was the worst interception in any football game I've seen this year. That was awful. I don't know what he was doing. Absolutely, I thought he was just terrible.
Well, I gotta be honest with you.
He threw that one into triple coverage, man. That was
Okay,
terrible.
but the one that Trubisky threw in the triple coverage, well, that was not really a happy one either.
Yeah, but Trubisky's not making $230 million guaranteed dollars over the next 6
Man,
years.
I'm just trying to tell you.
No,
man,
I didn't think. No, because you're talking about I agree. Trubisky's interceptions in that Ravens game were all terrible, and that was the worst game I saw a quarterback play.
Gosh.
And he can't get out of town fast enough because I just don't like that guy. I don't like the vibe that he brings.
Yeah,
I just don't
no.
I told you, I said all year I felt bad because he's the first guy since I've been doing this show that I felt like I was mean about. But I just don't like the guy, and I just think he's just not a very good football player.
It's not that I don't like the guy. That's not the case at all. But I just never understood, number one, A, why they got him. B, why they signed him for 2 years instead of just one. C, why they, quote unquote, made this farcical QB competition when by far and away KP was the best quarterback in the room.
I think that in retrospect, I think it's what I said. I didn't think that they thought that they had a chance to get a quarterback in the first round. I think Tomlin liked the idea of taking a Malik Willis or Desmond Ridder in the second or third round. I don't blame him. Yeah, but if Pickett wasn't there at 20, I wouldn't have minded that. I think that would have been a prudent move. They wouldn't have treated, if they drafted Malik Willis, they wouldn't have treated him like the Titans did, because the Titans just kind of threw him out to the slaughter, which, the dude was so clearly a project and so clearly not going to be ready to play, and they just... So
that just means we would have had a full season of Trubisky instead.
It is, and I'm not saying it would have been great or anything, but it makes you think about how, who knows what the ceiling is on Malik Willis in the right environment. I'm not going to cast judgment on the kid. I think he got put in a really crummy position. So
I have a hard, yes, and I'm with you on that. I have a hard time judging quarterbacks in their first year, whether they do exceptionally well or whether they do exceptionally bad. Because let's face it, you look at RG3, right, had an amazing rookie year, right? Where's he now? Right? And then you look at somebody like Peyton Manning, who was 1-13, threw more interceptions than touchdown passes. And where is Peyton Manning now? But you see what I'm saying, though? So it's
it's hard to tell, but I think you can look for certain traits. And to me, we saw with our quarterback this year, especially in the last month, he checked off enough boxes where I'm pretty convinced that this guy is going to be a good quarterback in this league. I really feel very confident about that. I think that, we saw a couple things happen. We saw growth, which is undeniable. I pointed it out a million times, but there's a great side-by-side video somebody put out on social media of Pickett and Tomlin walking off after the Dolphins game and him saying, head held high, we're going to keep fighting, we're going to keep getting better. And, Pickett had a bad game, probably his worst game against the Dolphins. He threw that late interception. Remember, they actually had a chance, and that was the first time we were going to see, is he going to do a 2-minute drill? Is this going to happen?
Yeah.
And he just couldn't get it there. He made a really bad throw, and it was intercepted. And then we see the side-by-side of him walking off after I think it was the Raiders game, or maybe it was the Ravens game, whichever. They were both awesome. And he's saying to him, he's like, that's, he says, Kenny effing Pickett, as we all know. It's the new famous line. And you just see, okay, this is a guy who, he had a whole sort of team and franchise invested in him, and, he moved in the right direction. He got better. It took a little while, but those last 3 games, he was lights out, man, when they needed to. People forget because everybody's going to remember the Raiders and the Ravens games, which rightfully so. Those were awesome moments. The Raiders touchdown will be remembered as the moment of this season, just with the with the Franco thing, we're all watching with our families. It's Christmas Eve. They're wearing the throwbacks. It was really the first time we saw that from Kenny.
So that technically would be your 5-star play of the season.
I don't think there's any debate about it, right? I don't.
Right.
I think it's the moment. I think the Najee one against the Ravens, if it wasn't the totality of the season and you're just talking about a play, that was freaking awesome. Don't get me wrong, and that's probably number 2.
Yeah, all right.
But I just think that the Raiders thing, to me, with the enormity of that moment and how it felt, I don't know, man. That, to me, that's up there with like the Immaculate Extension in 2016. I mean, I wasn't in person for this one like I was that, but still, that's going to be one of those moments when I remember the 22 Steelers. That's what I'm going to think of. But we'll see.
That game, I think it was, I can't. Was it the Ravens game? The one with George Pickens in the touchdown, a wide open touchdown. Was that against the Cleveland Browns, or was that against?
Yeah, it was this past week against the Browns.
Yeah, just this past week.
Yeah, it was almost the same throw as the one against the Raiders, but he was more open. Yeah.
But yeah, that I think right there shows you all you need to see about the Pittsburgh Steelers for 2023, 2024. Because we didn't see that at the beginning of the year, right? We saw the maturation of a wide receiver who, say what you want about how wide receivers are in the NFL. And we all know they're all divas and whatever you want to call it. And in spite of that fact, I have to say that it just really seems like George Pickens is a pretty humble guy. He always seems like he's making amazing catches, but I think he's doing what he wants. I think he's doing everything he can to win. And I think when you look at somebody like that and you see, it's like when you look at the great ones and you see how awesome they are, and you see how awesome they make everybody else around them, right? You can't help but to say that's a special player, and they are putting out way more. They're sacrificing way more than you ever think that they're going to, because they want to win, and they're doing everything that they can to make everybody else around them better so that the team can win.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And it just seems like he's that kind of player.
I agree. And I think that's something that they've done. I've said this a couple times at different points in this season, but, in restocking the cupboard of talent, the Steelers have lost, I remember, 5, 6, 7 years ago saying we're down to just Ben, Willie Gay, Debo, whoever else that was just like the few guys left from that had won Super Bowls, Yeah. And then over the years, it just becomes... By the way,
huge props to
Kevin the Elder guy.
Yeah,
3-month membership.
3 months.
Appreciate you,
man.
Brother. What a legend.
Super.
And you see those guys start to slowly dissipate until it's like, wow, we only the only guy that won Super Bowls here was Roethlisberger. And I remember last year saying isn't it kind of weird to think about Ben being the leader of this room, but the last time he won a Super Bowl, Najee Harris was probably 9 years old or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it just it's I saw a funny video. This is just a side, but I saw a little Instagram whatever video today of these kids at this gym, right? They were playing basketball, and it was just a 20-something guy. He asks all these kids. He goes, "Hey, if I say the name Melo, what basketball player are you talking about?" And 2 out of the 15 kids he asked said Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, but the rest there's a LaMelo Ball that's been in the league now for the last few years.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And 13 out of the 15 kids or something all said him. And it was so funny to me as somebody who's no, you're talking about Carmelo, duh, but it shows you how quickly those things change. And I think, when you talk about a Najee or somebody, one of these kids now coming in, they don't remember Ben Roethlisberger winning a Super Bowl, even if he carries himself in the right way, all that kind of stuff. They were 8 years old. I mean, I don't really remember John Elway winning a Super Bowl when I was 7. Like, you know, I know it happened, but it's not present in my mind like Tom Brady winning his or whatever. So I think it was just a weird thing.
I guess there's something seriously wrong with me then.
Why is that?
Well, because Terry Bradshaw winning the Super Bowl when I was 5 years old is something that's always stuck.
Yeah, but it's different.
Me.
I think it's different when it's your team versus a general thing. I'm saying though, like I remember like the Cowboys like when like when you're talking about like I'm saying like. Yes, I remember Neil O'Donnell throwing interceptions against the Cowboys in the Super Bowl in 1995, even though I was only 6 years old in 1996, whatever.
Stop it.
But you get my point. It's your team. It's different.
I have still to this day have never watched the replay of that Super Bowl. To this day.
I've seen the NFL Films thing on it a million times.
No, I refuse to watch any of it.
Anyway, my point being just that, you know, I get you. They've had to sort of restock the cupboard, and I think what they've done a good job of is not just getting talented players, but getting high character guys, obviously. You know, we've had a lot of brothers and all that kind of stuff. We love those things. And also winners. I mean, George Pickens was national championship. He was a national champion with the Dogs last year. Kenny Pickett won the ACC with Pitt last year.
Oh, and by the way, congrats on the
Go Dogs
on the championship again this year.
Dogs,
Go Dogs!
Oh my God, was that that's the I don't know that I've ever seen a bigger drubbing in a championship of any sport ever.
Was just redonkulous,
man. That's
was
brutal. They can't.
Anyway.
I don't know. The NCAA, I'm not the biggest college football fan in the world, but man, they got to do something. Like the SEC in particular, and a little bit of like the Big Ten and whatever, but like, man, they're just head and shoulders above everyone else. And I mean, the national championship almost every year should just be Georgia and Alabama at this point. And, I mean...
Hey, wait, no, I don't think it should be.
Well, I know you like Penn State, but come on, the Dogs would kill Penn State by like 25 points. I mean, it's just it's just so unbalanced. I mean,
okay, yeah, just about any team will be, okay, look, but I would like to see sometime in my lifetime Penn State make it to the playoffs.
Yeah,
and actually be I mean,
no, I hear you. It's don't you think? I mean, what Michigan was the best team in the Big Ten this year, right?
And they got
beat by TCU, right?
Yes.
So, and look what TCU did to Georgia. So Michigan would have got walloped by the Dogs. Probably not as bad as TCU did, because I think it was just not a good matchup. But Georgia or Alabama would have beat Michigan by 30 points if they were in the national championship game.
But going back to what you were saying, well, we really went off on a tangent there, boy. Holy smokes. But Najee Harris coming from a national championship,
X just said
Alabama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And other players that are coming from winning schools. It's always been,
You know what I want to say, too? I want to say that I really liked – there's been 2 points in the season, and most recently in his end of the season thing, that Tomlin got really stern and stood up for George Pickens because he felt as though he was being mischaracterized as a personality issue in the draft, in the pre-draft phase. And he vehemently, staunchly supports his guy and says he was mischaracterized as a good kid. He comes to work every day. He puts his head down, blah, 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 blah. And I really... say what you want about Mike as an X's and O's guy, but man, I love that he goes out of his way to say this is just not true. This is a good kid and he works, and and I think that's why he has been able to be successful drafting like that.
But it just seems like there's been more of the mediocres that kind of hang on. Do you know what I mean? And sorry about that. Okay. It just seems like more of the mediocres that kind of hang on, and we're not picking high enough in the draft to get anybody that's any kind of real serious high draft pick. You know what I mean? This year they're going to be picking 17th.
Yeah.
Okay, I would not have a problem with them trading up a couple places to get their guy. You know what I mean? I also wouldn't have a problem with them trading back a couple places to garner more second picks. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know that you'll see them do that because I think they like where they're going to be picking. I mean, look,
17th isn't bad.
Look, all right. You say what you want about the draft. All right. Look at this. The 2021 draft ultimately, I think, kind of looks a little shaky because they basically got Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, and that's about it. Dan Moore is their starting left tackle. He's probably not a starting left tackle on any other team in this league.
Yeah, agreed.
Presley Harvin is a mediocre punter at best.
At best.
Is what it is. Trey Norwood, I thought had some good upside. Isaiah Loudermilk too, but because of depth at those positions, neither of those guys played much this year.
You're right.
Norwood Norwood. I really liked Norwood a lot last year. He just they signed KZ, and KZ's a really good player. I hope he comes back.
Me too. Yeah, I would like to see that stay.
But look at the draft this year. All right, they got 20 overall Kenny Pickett, 52 overall George Pickens, 84 overall DeMarvin Leal, who looks like he's going to be a nice pass rush piece. Fourth, they got Calvin Austin, which we don't know yet. He was hurt all year. But then you finish out with Connor Heyward and Mark Robinson, and they drafted that stupid quarterback in the 7th round, but whatever. You're looking like you might have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 to 5
starters.
Really legitimate players. I mean, you could see a world where Leal's taken over, the Stephon Tuitt sort of second, DN kind of position in the near future. And I mean, bottom line, Kenny Pickett and George Pickens are going to be starting on this team for the next 5 years at minimum. I mean, those guys are bona fide,
all day long. And
blocks.
I'm very, very, and was absolutely amazingly pleased with Robinson's play in the last couple of weeks of the season, because with the whole Devin Bush thing dropping off, and then Spillane not really filling the gap either.
No, listen. If you look at the last 2 drafts, because I hear a lot of people say this, that the Steelers, last few years they're not drafting as good, whatever. If you look at the way they have restocked this cupboard on offense, they're going to have a very good problem to have in 3 years. And that's going to be, where does all the money go? Because in the last 2 years, they drafted a Pro Bowl capable running back, an all pro capable tight end, a Pro Bowl, hopefully even maybe better quarterback, and a guy that I think could legitimately be an all pro wide receiver in Pickens in their first 2 rounds the last 2 years. So, I mean, they also drafted Kendrick Green, but hey, whatever. They basically took care of you.
I also think too, another one we can add to that is Cam Heyward.
Oh, you mean Connor Heyward?
Or Connor Heyward, yeah. Connor Heyward, right?
Yeah, how about his 2 catches this week after Pat went out? Those 2 huge catches. That one that I made the play of the game, that was a nice catch, dude. He's a good player.
So, with that youth and with what they've picked up in the draft so far, that's why I'm okay with not picking a wide receiver at 17.
I don't care where they pick a receiver, but I do think they need one in those top 3 picks because they're still lacking. They're still lacking one thing. And if you want to say that you think that Freiermuth is the second best receiver on this team, that's fine. I mean, however you want to determine that is fine. But the problem is, what is always going to be a limiter on this team, they didn't have their season-long touchdown until week 18 this past week, and that was the George Pickens one, and it was 31 yards. That's not a very long for season-long touchdown. It's not. I mean, even for catch and run, it doesn't all have to be in the air. I mean, most seasons you're going to have a 65-yarder at some point, a 52-yarder at some point. I mean,
well, you would think if you caught 85 balls, and of those 85 balls, one of them would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, you would think. But I think my point is that I think that they still need speed. I think that they don't have enough top end speed to back the safeties up. And I think that's what's going to unlock this run game. We already started to see it in the back half of this season where this run game, say what you want about this offensive line, but they were eating dudes up at the line of scrimmage the last month, going back to that Carolina game. And Najee was looking like the best back in football. He absolutely was. And the only thing was that they didn't have enough of a deep threat in the passing game to push safeties a little further back. So instead of getting, he'd have a lot of these like 5 to 7 yard runs. But once you introduce a little bit of that speed and a little bit of that threat into the offense, then all of a sudden a few more of those turn into 8 to 12 yard runs. Go ahead.
Here's why No, I'm with you. No. And I think it was a certain offensive coordinator going, hey, maybe I should do it this way instead of the other way because the other way isn't working. And that's kind of where I'm going with this whole thing with where I think as far as Kenny Pickett being the number one guy and not needing to necessarily pick a wide receiver as in those top 3 spots. I understand that more than likely, against my better judgment and against my hopes and wishes, that more than likely Canada's going to be back again.
I would agree at this point.
At this point, so far, the arrow's pointing for him to come back. To me, that is a huge disappointment because I still don't think that he gets it. He's using wide receivers to run the flipping ball. When you have guys like Pickens and Dante Johnson, who are some of the fastest guys out there, why aren't they streaking down the field? Why are they getting handoffs? I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, that's why I've gone off on this whole diatribe with this whole offensive thing. I think there is a lot of talent already on this offense. I think they need a tackle. I think they need a more depth and or an all-pro center or a better tackle than who we got. And at least another good offensive lineman that can be in there, that can be that swing, so we have some depth. Because I'm here to tell you, if any one of those guys goes down, we would have been hosed this year. And we were lucky that none of them got hurt or missed any games. Do you know what I mean? Because that very rarely happens where the offensive line plays all 16 or all 18 games. Yeah, that very rarely happens.
Yeah, so I mean, I would agree with you on what you're talking about as far as the division of labor in the backfield. However, I would say that in the second half of the season, it proved to be effective. They became much better at making run plays and pass plays look the same. And Kenny Pickett got more comfortable with what he needed to do in the backfield in terms of the sort of machinations of like faking it here, turning here, doing this. And if you look at their yards per attempt, Connor Heyward, it's a few. I mean, Connor Heyward had 2 carries, but averaged 13 yards a carry. Remember, he had that big one to seal that game against, I think, Atlanta.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Pickens, 3 for 24, so he averaged 8 yards a tote. Steven Sims had, 5.4 yards a carry. Gunner, 4.9. So, I mean, I think that I don't have a problem with the reverses and stuff because I think that they were able to fit those, into a certain way. But what I would say is, again, to my point about speed, third highest yards per attempt on the season on this team was Chase Claypool, who averaged 1.5 yards more per attempt than Steven Sims did after Claypool left. So
okay, well, let me ask you a question.
And Chase Claypool was, I mean, without a question, straight line speed, their fastest wide receiver, and I do think that they missed that.
So that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. You think that Claypool was the fastest wide receiver in the room?
Yeah, with
faster
straight line
than Dante Johnson.
Yeah, straight
really?
line speed, absolutely, no doubt about it. Yes, Deontay Johnson's not as fast. Deontay Johnson has better acceleration for sure. But if you think about it, this one's for my younger audience. But if you think about it in terms of like Mario Kart, I would say that Deontay Johnson is like Yoshi. He has high acceleration, but ultimately pretty low top speed. And I think Chase Claypool's a little bit more like a Bowser. He doesn't get to top speed as quick, but once he gets to top speed, he's faster for sure. Yeah. He's got those 6'4". He's 6'4", dude.
Okay, I mean, I've played enough Mario Kart to know who you're talking about
He's
here.
got, he's got a little speed. I just think that they need another weapon, and I don't care where it is. It could be.
I'm not doubting that.
I'm not
doubting
I'm
that.
sure I haven't even looked here. Shout out Jimena joining the All Pro. One of my favorite fans of all time, valued member of the community. Appreciate you. I know somebody.
Super. Thank you so much.
I know somebody in the chat. Yep, there it is, Andre. What about Calvin Austin? And I know I'm gonna get this a million times. Okay. And Calvin Austin, maybe, sure, but I think that when you have a guy who is 5'8", 165 pounds, soaking wet, you have to look at it as a bonus if he ends up being a contributor. I've just seen it too many times in the NFL. He already missed a season with a mysterious injury, had surgery, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying I'm rooting against the guy. I'm just saying it's a plus if he works out. Okay, I'm not holding my. How many really great 5'8", tiny little wide receivers? I mean, we've seen, Tavon Austin. How good was Tavon Austin in college? You remember? Played West Virginia. I think he played with Geno Smith, probably.
Yeah.
And I think he was our first round pick, which is stupid, but we saw it years ago on the Steelers with Chris Rainey, Dree Archer. Remember that little running back? He was tiny little guy.
Stop doing it. Stop doing it.
So I just think it's, it's a bonus if it works out, and maybe they can use him, but I think they need another legitimate option. And the only way I would do that with the first pick is the very specific scenario of if you're able to get Jordan Addison, because like I said, I think Cincinnati proved me wrong. If you can get your Joe Burrow, his Jamar Chase, then you do it, because they did it and it was the right move.
I think the Steelers already have that.
More is better. Okay. Look at the Bengals. They got three legitimately really good wide receivers. They got T.
I'm
Higgins.
with you. No, I'm not doubting you.
Tyler Boyd.
Not doubting you. Okay, but is the wide receiver class in this year's draft, aside from that one guy? Do you see what I'm trying to get at here?
I do see what you're saying, and I think they're in a position where they can take any one of a number of positions. I just think, if
that's the best guy at wide receiver and there's no chance of getting him, then moving on.
Yeah, I don't know how the draft is going to see him. Look, I didn't think that Kenny Pickett was going to be available at number 20 either, so who knows?
I'm more intrigued with how we're going to use the pick that we got from Claypool.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting part of the draft for sure, even in some ways more than the first round pick. Yeah.
Because that, in essence, like you said, gives the Steelers 2 first-round draft picks.
It does. And the best thing about that, they get a whole day to think about it, because they're going to be picking first in the second round. So get a whole day to assess the draft board and see what they want to do. I think it's really nice, and I still can't believe that Chicago traded a second-round pick for Chase Claypool.
Think about this for a second. The first day is gone. You've made your first-round draft pick. You can have any freaking player on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me that you would use that pick to select another wide receiver?
If it's who I determine to be the best fit for my team, I'm not gonna take a third or second round, late second round caliber offensive lineman, because when just because it's a position of need, because then when you draft for need, then you're also not making the right decision.
I agree with you. So that's why I think that either that first or that second pick needs to be that offensive lineman.
It just needs to be whoever it is there. I think the offensive line, to me, I think you bought this year. You bought yourself some flexibility, because the way that I see it, the offensive line this year, especially in the second half of the season, proved to me that they're capable enough. And if you had to ride with the same five next year, you'd be fine, because they were fine really most of the year. Even early in the season, even when the team was struggling, you have to admit, we all were like, the offensive line hasn't been as big of a problem as we thought it was. We both agreed earlier in this year that we thought a lot of the pressure was self-induced. One, by Mitch hanging on to the ball forever, and two, by Kenny bailing out of clean pockets because he was inexperienced. And one thing we've learned about him is, much like Roethlisberger, he's more comfortable outside of structure. So it's going to be a process of all of these pieces learning to work together. But I think if you're maintaining Canada and you're going to maintain the same players, I think you'll be all right. Could you use a stud left tackle? Sure. But if they're not there at 17, I think a weapon or a corner or, whatever, I think would be a prudent move. Yeah, if you're drafting there, like, I devalue that defensive line early in the draft because I think you can find good talent later. But also, if you're in a situation like last year where, a lot of people wanted the Steelers to take Jordan Davis, the big guy from Georgia, defensive lineman, and the Ravens ended up taking him. Did the Ravens really need defensive line help? No, they got Calais Campbell. He's pretty good. But they said, we can't pass up this guy. He's really, he's going to fit perfect in our system, and so what? So if you have the opportunity to get a guy like that, sure, I don't have a problem with it. But I look at scarcity, and I look at, what I think I can do. And I just think that, we have most of what's going to make our defense next year special in place, and that's TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think anything you add there would be nice, especially middle linebacker if you're able to add that. But I think that's probably more
Bush
like
isn't going to be back, and the rotating door there needs to stop.
No, and I want to say one thing. I've seen so many people talk about this now, and I gotta cash in my little street cred for this. Well, have you seen now? Everybody's realizing that Tremaine Edmonds is going to be a free agent, and I think I told you about 5-6 weeks ago. I said, who's going to be a free agent that the Steelers
Cookie's
should
second
sign?
Favorite son.
Remember? I said that like a month and a half ago. So
those exact words.
I did.
Cookie's second favorite son.
I did. And I do. I still think that would be a very, very, very smart move. That's a high-level player. I think you're going to have trouble replacing that position with a plug-and-play, option in the draft, because – in recent years, the only really high-end off-ball linebackers we've seen have been guys that go really early, Roquan Smith or Devin White. We took Devin Bush at 10, and that was not a prudent move, obviously. If you're able to get that, sure. But to me, I think just the way the cards and the chips fall, I don't know. I wouldn't be stunned if they took wide receiver at any of those 3 picks.
I get what you're saying. I would hope that they wouldn't, as far as the way I'm concerned.
Sure.
The way I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? If you're going to continue to ride with Canada,
I just think you go all in on if you have any opportunity. The way I see it is, if you have any opportunity to do something that could make Kenny Pickett better while he's on his rookie deal, you do it
all day long.
Yeah, because if he proves to be worth his weight, then in 4 years he's going to be making $40 million a year, and you're not going to have the money to do it. So
no, I'm with you on that one, 5-star. But here's the thing, and this is kind of where I'm. This is another reason why I'm saying what I'm saying. Get some of these guys now while Kenny's young.
Sure.
Especially guys like offensive linemen to help protect him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that
No, I hear you.
I just keep harping on this, and I keep harping on it because I keep seeing things that scare me. I keep seeing things that don't make me have the warm and fuzzies going into the future with this offensive line. Yes, they played every single snap together. Great. That's very rare. That probably will not happen next year.
Yeah,
some of these guys are going to miss time. Okay, no matter what. I've seen enough of Chooks. I'm ready for that to be gone. I've seen enough of Dan Moore.
I mean,
I'm
Chooks
ready
is the
for that
highest
to be
paid guy
gone.
on the line. He's going to be there.
Okay, but I'm ready for that to
Yeah.
be gone. I'm ready, and I'm here to tell you something else too. I would be putting Dotson on a very, very, very short leash.
I hear you, but much like Matt Canada, I think a lot of us are going off of what our preconceived notions were. The reality is, the last month of the season, they were really good. I mean, they led multiple 2-minute scoring drives to come back.
I got you.
I'm
with you.
Pickett had time.
I understand.
Najee had holes. I mean,
but they're also professionals. They're getting paid money. Okay, that's their job.
Yeah, but I'm saying if they're getting better, then I think, I don't know. I just think they have flexibility. I don't think offensive line is as obvious of a need as a lot of people think it is. I think that to me.
Oh, I agree.
I think to me, corner is a more pressing situation.
Oh, I agree.
I really think you need a cornerback. I just think they're one short there.
Wholeheartedly.
But they have some flexibility, and I think it could go in a lot of directions.
And see, that's why I like when we have these conversations, because I agree with a lot what you're saying, because with what they have now, it does give them that flexibility where if they have to ride with the guys that they have, okay, we can if we have to, but let's not have to.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you could go a lot of.
If we can make this better, then let's make it better.
You could go a lot of routes. Yeah, I don't know. And I guess
that's all I'm saying.
I guess to transition here, we do have something to read. We actually have we have a little ad read today.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to do a little. This is the first ever. We're introduce a little sponsor. Don't bail out of us. It's going to take like 30 seconds, just a little thing. But I have to tell you that today, 5-Star Radio is brought to you by the illustrious Manscaped, who I'm sure you've heard of. They're the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. I'm not going to read this word for word. You know what Manscaped is. I know what Manscaped is because they sent me a welcome package, courtesy of Mr. Steel Flyers, who set it all up for us. What a legend. I got to be honest, I've done sponsorships before, and they haven't been great experiences sometimes, DraftKings. And I will say that this is the best one I've done so far. The package they sent me is really unbelievable. They send you the stuff that you don't even know existed, right?
Or stuff you didn't even know you needed.
Exactly. That's absolutely true. So the bread and butter everybody knows is the main trimmer. It's got this cool LED light on it. It's dope.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
It is.
I love that, man. It's the lawnmower 4.0. I love that. The light.
And if you've tried to unsuccessfully use your beard trimmer in ways that maybe you shouldn't use your beard trimmer, you will rapidly learn that this thing is designed for the purpose that it is advertised for.
Word.
So part of our ad read here, we get a 20% off coupon, free shipping anywhere in the world. All you just got to do is use the promo code 5star20. I mean, you can't miss that. Just remember me and Cam Sutton, 5star20, and you get 20% off.
And you'll be on the button.
Yeah, on the button, just like Cameron Sutton. No, but really, I mean, it is just a really great product, and I thank you for setting us up with this.
Yeah, man.
If you do buy through that promo code, it helps us out.
Yes.
It kicks a little back our way, and maybe we get a
sure.
little longer term sponsor, all that stuff. But
it's all good, man.
There's just check it out, manscaped.com. You know
for sure. All you have to do is go in there and type in the promo code. What is it? 5star20.
5star20.
5star20. You get 20% on your shipping worldwide. Anything that you order, go in there and get that package that 5-Star was talking about, right? Over 7 million men worldwide are using this product, man, okay? Be part of the Ballers Club and get yourself a performance package, right? Go to manscaped.com, right? Order up your performance package and type in there in that code 5-star 20. It gets you 20% and free shipping. And if you didn't get the right gift for Christmas, trust me, when you get this gift, she will like it too.
Well done, my friend. So yes, Manscaped, do it. Back to the other kind of ball, football.
The pigskin kind.
Yeah. No, I think that there's a lot of reason to feel positive about this team going forward, and I'm just very happy about the way this season wound down. I couldn't be more convinced that we got the right quarterback in place.
You know what? I have been won over this year. To be honest with you, I have truly been won over this year. I was not of any essence for them to take a quarterback. I really didn't want them to take a quarterback last year's draft because I felt it was not as talented as the one that's going to be this year and then the following year. Okay, so I was willing for them and happy to see, oh, hey, we picked up Trubisky. All right, he's all right. I mean, he's all right. He's going to probably win us a couple games and we'll be all right. And we're probably going to be one of those rebuilding years. It's not going to be the greatest. All right, next year we'll get us a quarterback.
And to be clear, he won us precisely 2 games.
2 games, right, yeah. So, but that's kind of how I was approaching this coming season, thinking that this was going to be that ugly transition year where you just got divorced, right? Yep. It's your first Christmas alone, and
yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's awkward.
Ben's
you don't know.
Off into the sunset now, and
no, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think midway through this season, we probably, mostly all felt that way. But they turned it around and they got their backs against the wall. One thing we've heard to a man, and I know that there's so many fans out there, especially people who want to doubt Mike Tomlin, who say, "Oh, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the above 500 and all that." But you know what? The players, they've said this, a lot of them now, because they've been asked it specifically, that they took that as a serious point of pride, that they did not want to be the first team who went under 500. And you know what? They were 2-6, 3-7. They had none of us, we all thought even if they had a good second half of the season, they'd still be like 7-10, something like that. And
6-10,
and they took it as a point of pride, and they refused, especially there so many of these games. I mean, Oakland, or Las Vegas, they were down late, obvious, or they struggled. They needed to come back and win that late, and they did. Indianapolis, they blew that lead. Everybody forgets, oh, well, the Colts suck and the Falcons suck and the Saints suck. Sure, whatever, but this is an ascending young team. And that Colts game, people forget the Colts came back and took the lead in that game, or tied it. I don't remember if they tied it or took the lead.
I think they tied it.
But Kenny Pickett let them down and got a win in that one, too.
Mm-hmm.
Right when they needed it. And then Oakland, they did the same. Baltimore, they did the same. And even
I think it's always going to be the Oakland Raiders.
It's always Oakland, yeah.
It's always Oakland,
Sorry,
okay.
It's set in stone.
Even when they were in LA, I never called them the LA.
No, I think it's a travesty. I don't think sports teams of that sort of ilk, like that kind of legacy, it's a travesty when they move. It really is. Like I feel bad, especially for Oakland fans, because I know the A's are thinking about doing the same thing, and man, I just think that's a real shame when you have something like that where it's like, well, yeah, of course no one goes to see the A's play because they suck and they don't spend any money to get a good team in there. I mean, same with the Pirates and stuff, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, and then especially this last week, people forget because we ended up winning this game by 14 points, so people aren't going to remember this, but Watson got it down to a 6-point game. You remember that? And
yes,
I remember thinking, Oh boy, this
Oh
is
boy,
gonna
here
be
we go.
like,
Yeah.
this is gonna go from like we ended on a really strong note to like, god damn, the Jets, and I knew at that point I'm like, the Jets are gonna end up winning and blah blah blah, and we're gonna lose it because of stupid
that's
defense.
hey, that's why we won.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You do know that, right?
Yeah, of course,
okay.
of course.
Okay. Because if we would have played like garbage,
Yeah, of course, the Jets would have
right?
won
The
by
Jets
30
would have
points.
won.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
No, that would have been the worst. That would have been the worst. I said all along going into last week that like really, I didn't. It would have been neat and funny if the Steelers made the playoffs, but they're not ready for it. And the way I see it from a viewpoint of like young kids, they still played 3 straight playoff games. In my mind, they really did, because they needed to win all 3 of them, and they did it. And if they went to the playoffs, they would have gotten stomped by Buffalo. Probably not as bad as the first time, but they would have gotten killed, and that's not helping.
Yeah, that would have been ugly.
That's not helping anybody's development. So, I think it's a good thing ultimately that what happened was they did their part and they just didn't get the help they needed. It is what it is. It would have been way worse if they got the help they needed and then they lost.
I know, because that's exactly what would have happened is they would have gotten into the playoffs. As you see, the Dolphins are playing the Bills.
I know, it sucks.
Maybe that might not be the case, because if Pittsburgh would have made it into the playoffs, that means they would have either beaten the Bills or the Dolphins.
Well, no, and I mean, not if they got the help. I mean, if the Jets beat the Dolphins, the Steelers would have been in the playoffs. I mean, they could have been in the playoffs without beating any of them. If we would have won those
2 games that we talked about, we wouldn't have needed the help.
No, if they won even just one game against a stupid NFC East or AFC East, they're in the playoffs without question.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I mean, no doubt about it. Especially, I mean, the Patriots game, I've said all year since week 2. I know I've harped on it a million times, but that game it was their game to win, and Trubisky was just completely inept. I mean, completely inept. It wasn't on paper the worst game he played, but I just came away from that game being like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do a full season of this. Guy just stinks.
Well, guess what?
I didn't
You
have
didn't
to do
have to.
I know.
Thank God.
I know, but he still, who knows what Kenny would have been if he started from the jump. But to be honest, I mean, at the end of the day, I am left wondering, like,
I think it would have garnered us those 2 extra wins.
At least one. I mean,
I agree.
You don't think Pickett would have been better by the time we played the Dolphins? I mean, he would have had a chance there. I think he would have had a chance against the Patriots. I mean,
by the time we got to the Jets, I think, because he came in and lit that up, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think so. By the time we would have gotten to the Jets, he would have been on form, because what happened? He came in and played 2 or 3 games, and then we were in the bye week.
Yep.
And he missed those 2 games, and then went into the bye week, and then was able to come out of the bye week and play. And then he got another concussion and missed 2 games.
Yeah, well, the worst. I think the thing that ultimately kneecapped them, honestly, was the second concussion, because if he doesn't miss that game, that first game against Baltimore, they win that game. They do.
I'm with you.
They do. I mean, really, just the fact that they weren't able. It's the biggest indictment on Trubisky's ability as a so-called veteran quarterback. The fact that he couldn't pull off a game. Because people remember Tyler Huntley even went out in that game. They were down to their 3rd stringer.
Yeah.
And he got thoroughly outplayed by him. Are you kidding? I mean, God, he was so awful in that game. That was the only game this year that reminded me of when I was like a teenager and I'd like stomp my feet and throw things. Like I was so mad. I couldn't believe it. He was so bad.
So I got this styrofoam thing that's called the bad call brick. And it's made out of like that foam, those foam fingers, right? Yeah. So I have this, I sit with it, right? So every time I throw it, right? And it lightly bounces off the TV. It doesn't damage anything, but you get what I'm saying though, right? So, oh my gosh, man, I'm with you.
That first Ravens game though, it was so frustrating, man. I mean, they were moving it up and down and like, just incapable.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
I didn't think I was the I didn't think I was I thought I was one of the only ones that had one of those. A bad call brick. Kevin, the elder god, has one of those too.
love
But
it.
no, but mine's I got mine. It has Steely McBeam on it, and it looks like it's yellow, and it has two little holes in the middle of it, right? And it looks like I guess it's called a brick. I guess I don't know, but they call it a bad call
Like a
brick.
cinder block. Yeah. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
There you
yeah,
go. I
yeah.
couldn't think of what it, but uh, either way you slice it, I I'm liking what I'm seeing going forward. I'm going to be liking to see a healthy TJ Watt.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm liking to see a revigorated Cam Hayward, right? I I'm really hoping that Mr. Matt Canada, because I know you're listening, goes to offensive coordinator school and learns what an illegal man downfield is and learns what a false start is, okay? And learns that he needs to be on the field instead of in the press box.
Yes.
Okay? I'm sorry. I'm just not a fan of that. I'm just not a fan of that because I've seen so many times the communication between the guy in the booth and the quarterback and or the coach is usually sporadic at best. Now I know that modern technology is all fine and great. You know what I mean? And there's the capability now where, Matt Canada can talk to Kenny Pickett on the field, but most of the time that communication is garbled or doesn't work or whatever the case is. Okay. That's why I am not a fan of the offensive coordinator in the booth. I want them on the field. I want them to be there on the sideline when they come off the field to coach them up, to say, this is what we were trying to do in this play, and this is how we were trying to do it. I want to see him sitting there on the bench showing them diagrams with the Microsoft freaking Surface Book. I want to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's it is what it is. I don't have a take on that. I mean, successful coordinators have been in the booth, successful coordinators have been on the sideline.
I agree, but I don't think Matt Canada is going to be successful being in the freaking booth.
Hey man, he was the offensive coordinator of a team that went 7-2 in the last 9 games. So what can I say? I was not the offensive coordinator of a team who did that.
Thank you, Andre.
Yeah, what did he drop? A couple bucks? Yeah,
Don't
let's go.
hide.
Appreciate
Boom, boom,
you. Little $2 in the jar. We appreciate it, my friends.
Thank you.
Y'all are the best, and I think we are kind of rounding this corner here. We got to get heading soon, but I just want to say that I'm very thankful for everyone, and I hope that my genuine thankfulness comes across. I really just I love that you guys give me this platform to do this thing, and it's now we just finished our 4th season, 17 full episodes this year, and
big ones too, man. Like
a lot of content.
Last year the average show was 11 minutes 30 seconds.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it sad that I know your stats?
Yeah.
Right. This year the average show was 20 minutes 24 seconds.
No, that can't be the average. I'm sure the average was lower than that. But because I think only a few hit 20 minutes, but still, I just love doing it, and I love providing it for you guys, and
Keep it coming.
Yeah, it is, it's awesome. I feel just so grateful that I kind of have developed this thing and this voice, and that there are people that support me here and on Patreon and all that kind of stuff. Patreon.com/5SMU. Manscaped, you yourself, Mr. Steel Flyers. I mean, everybody that helps
Steelflyers.com.
out.
Yeah,
there
buddy.
You go. I don't know what our next piece of content will be. I'm going to take a little bit of a breather here and, as I mentioned before, I did just start a new gig myself, so I'm falling into some new stuff and some new work, and it's all good stuff. But we'll see what the future holds. But don't fret, because 5-star matchup is not going anywhere.
That's for sure. Based off of what we saw the last show that we did, with the amount of
that was unbelievable.
The amount of donations that we saw, I mean, that was amazing. You guys are some of the most amazing fans out there, and we love you guys. And it just wouldn't be the same show without the great comments that we get and all you people out there. And I just really want to say thank you to 5-star for allowing me to be part of this great group of people, great group of fans, and part of what 5-star is doing. I'm going to ask you to go to steelflyers.com, check out all the great content there. I'm going to politely ask you to go to the Steel Flyers All Sports Network YouTube channel. Check that out. And also on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. You can go to the steelflyers.com/link/5-star and catch these great shows that we've done. Right, so you can go catch all that on the steelflyers.com website too. So, and big thank you to Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com.
Yes.
Yep, go to manscaped.com, get 20% off. Type in the promo code 5star20 and get 20% off your whole order.
That's the one.
That's the one. There you go. Big thanks to them. Big thanks to you, 5-star, and big thanks to you out there, folks. Really appreciate it.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, my friend. I appreciate you for another full season here of 5-star radio.
Been good, man.
Yeah,
Been good.
It's just, this is so much fun to do. The show, my main show, I've said this, like, that is like a love-hate relationship. Like, I love it so much because
you love to hate it.
I do, because it's my
hate to love it.
It's my mad scientist thing. It really is. It's hard to write
so
those scripts every week and try to be funny and all that stuff. But this is just like, I just sit in here and I mean, I haven't thought for a second on one thing we've talked about in the last 90 minutes. Like, I just kind of just goes, it just comes out. There's no effort to it. And I just have so much fun doing this. Yeah.
That's the best part about this, because you have so much knowledge of this team. You have so much, you watch so much tape of this team that you see the tendencies, the tendencies. Do you know what I'm saying? And that coveted with the fact that you've been a fan and following this team as closely as you have for as many years as you have. I mean, that shines through, man.
I mean, hey, it does. It shines through. It's as close as anything is to being my religion, frankly. My whole life, it's just, Sundays are just, okay, well, it's, everybody that knows me knows, like, I've never been doing something else while the Steelers were playing since I was probably 10 years old. When I travel, if I'm traveling and it's a game day, I'm wearing colors. Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Right? Holidays, I'm wearing colors.
No, it doesn't matter. When I go away, like when I went for Christmas I had to go to my parents and then upstate to my spouse's parents, all that. I pack jerseys. I've got a plan, what jersey are you going to wear? What jersey am I going to wear? I pack them. And then you get where you're going. They come out of the bag. They got to go in the closet, hang up on the hanger, all that kind of stuff.
I'm with you, man.
It's no joke. It's no joke. This is the stuff that, if I could be corny here for a minute, everybody's, tuning out, going to eat dinner or whatever. But, those are the stuff that, I got from my uncle, which I said, you guys know I lost him. And that's why I started this show. And, that was what I learned is like, you got to take this serious and you got to, you got to wear your jersey. You got to do this. You got to be hinging on every play. I'm not looking at my phone. You got to take it seriously, because the only way, and that's what's so great about what we watched this season, is that the only way that you're allowed to be hyped when the Steelers are successful is if you're still here when they're not being successful. I heard so many people, I had so many people show up on my channel in my comments the last couple weeks, and I'm not going to call people out by name, but I did have people that were like, oh, I fell off this season. I wasn't really watching and blah. Are you kidding? I don't care if the Steelers, they could be 1-15. I might not pay money to go watch them in person and freeze my butt off, but I'm going to watch the game. I mean, they play 17 a year, okay? I'm going to watch the game. And I think this year in itself was such a microcosm of that, where we got to see this really tough dip, and then we were rewarded. And that memory that I have on Christmas Eve with my family and the week after against Baltimore, they're just gonna be moments that I remember. Even though I've seen this team win Super Bowls, those are gonna be moments that stand up to those moments, and because you can't buy that.
Because it's part of who you are. It's part of what you do. It's part of what you surround yourself with. Do you know what I'm saying? And most of all of my holiday memories or good memories are all evolved around football games.
Sure.
Or you see pictures of me throughout my history, and almost all the holiday pictures he's wearing a jersey. Why? Because we're either playing that Sunday or the following Sunday, or we're playing that night, or whatever. You know what I mean? And so I got the distinct honor and privilege to play for 10 years. I got to play for a coach who was the sports writer for our local newspaper for Penn State. And he had an amazing relationship with Joe Paterno. And we got to go and meet Joe Paterno when we won our state championships 2 years in a row. We got to go up to Penn State, meet Joe Paterno. We had a walkthrough on the field at Beaver Stadium, 1981, 1982, mind you now, okay? Got to meet Todd Blackledge, Kurt Warner, all those guys. And then Joe Paterno had we had a banquet, and he had got up and spoke and, all that other stuff, right? That's how I got to be part of the Penn State, following Penn State. When you play football like that, and then you get an opportunity to do what I'm doing right now. I've been following this team for as long as you are old, 5-star. Okay. And I have more knowledge about this team than most people have forgotten.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I get an opportunity to sit here and do exactly that. Talk about my favorite freaking football team that I have followed since I was 5 years old.
That is what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I mean, when I see that white circle with the gray outline and the 3 hypocycloids, the yellow, the red, and the blue, that to me, I mean this truly, is that might as well be my family crest. And I'm somebody who has a lot of pride in my family, but like, it really is.
Yeah, because we's Italians, right?
Exactly.
So we have a lot of pride in our family crest.
Exactly. But when I see that, it might as well be what it is, and it just means the world to me that people, y'all guys on the internet, come and listen to me, talk about it, make jokes and whatever. And so I appreciate you guys. And this has been a long conclusion, but the point is,
that's all right.
I love all you guys. I appreciate you so much. I'll be around. Just give me a minute, okay? I promise.
Right.
I'll be around.
Yeah,
just
we'll
give
be around. I'll be cracking the whip and getting moving or something here eventually.
Yeah, I'm a tortured artist. I gotta go climb into my rabbit hole for a minute, and
let him go climb in his rabbit hole for a minute, and then I'll dangle a carrot in front of him again.
Yes. I'm a director, not a producer.
There you go.
All right, but yeah, you guys, I'll catch you down the road on the next edition of 5-Star Radio. Steel Flyers. If I don't talk to you on the radio in the near future, I'll catch you on the next edition of 5-Star Radio.
Roger that.
Adios, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a nice
guys.
off season. Bye.